Welcome to today's deep dive, specially curated for you. Imagine finding a buried treasure chest, right? But instead of gold, it's filled with about 4,000 tiny carved seals.
Yeah, the Harappan seals.
Exactly. They belong to the Harappan civilization, going all the way back to roughly 2600 BCE. And they are completely covered in symbols. You'd think, after 100 years of staring at them, we'd know what they say.
Well, you would think so, but the reality is those Indus Valley inscriptions remain um, one of the greatest unsolved puzzles in archaeology. I mean, it has been a complete century-long impasse.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the twist in the research we're looking at today is that this roadblock isn't actually about a lack of evidence.
Right, it's a definitional failure.
Yes, for decades, scholars have been vaguely arguing over whether these symbols are a script. But, that's just the wrong question entirely. I mean, a programming language is a script, but it doesn't encode human speech. The real question we need to ask is, do these signs actually encode spoken natural language?
And that definitional trap is it's tied to a massive methodological failure. Researchers have relied heavily on statistical methods, specifically measuring entropy, to prove these signs are linguistic.
Entropy. Like the physics concept.
Well, in this context, entropy is simply a way to measure the predictability or, the randomness in a sequence of symbols. But the flaw there is symmetrical evidence. A highly organized, non-linguistic code will show the exact same statistical patterns, the exact same entropy as a spoken language.
Oh, wow. So it's like arguing whether a shipping barcode is a poem because both have organized patterns.
That completely captures the problem, yeah. To break out of this loop, the source paper we are examining throws out the vague script debate entirely. Instead, they introduce three strict hypotheses.
Right. What are they?
Hypothesis 1, it's true linguistic writing encoding spoken words. 2, it's an administrative registration code, like a modern ID badge. Or 3, it's a metrological hybrid, which is basically an inventory notation for tracking commodities.
Okay, and the hard data they use to test this is just incredibly revealing.
It really is. Look at the Mohenjo-Daro seals. An astonishing 98.3% of the sign sequences on those seals are totally unique. Individual signs almost never repeat within the exact same text.
Wait, really? Almost never.
Almost never. Furthermore, the numeral 2 accounts for up to 67% of all the numeral tokens, which, massively violates Benford's law.
Right, because in any naturally occurring organic data set, Benford's law dictates that the number 1 should naturally be the most frequent leading digit.
Exactly. So the dominance of the number 2 suggests a highly specific artificial accounting system, not a natural language.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. Let me push back for a second. Couldn't these just be highly formulaic abbreviations, like those Roman imperial inscriptions we see on ancient monuments, where IMPCAS stands for Emperor Caesar?
What's fascinating here is that the Roman comparison actually proves the opposite point.
Wait, how so?
Roman inscriptions are indeed formulaic abbreviations, right? But because they are based on a spoken alphabet, they still require heavy letter repetition. You literally can't escape alphabetic combinatorics.
Oh, right, because spoken languages rely on a small set of vowels and consonants that just have to repeat constantly to form words.
Exactly. And the Indus signs simply don't show that internal repetition.
That makes perfect sense. They aren't spelling anything out phonetically.
Right, and they spectacularly fail what the paper calls the algebraic substitution test. If you take a proposed spoken word, assign it to a specific symbol, and then plug that translation into the signs across multiple texts, you'd expect to see coherent grammatical sentences emerge.
But you don't.
No, instead the test produces absolute gibberish.
So how do we actually solve this then, if math and linguistics aren't working?
We stop treating it like a pure math problem and start doing archaeology. The paper outlines a new decision framework that demands we test physical context.
Like looking at where the seals were actually found?
Yeah, or looking at the actual physical objects themselves. For example, do specific animal motifs carved on these seals perfectly correlate with specific sign prefixes? Finding a physical visual correlation like that would strongly indicate an administrative tracking system rather than a recorded spoken language.
That is so wild to think about.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this isn't just about ancient history. It is a masterclass for you in how to apply critical thinking when faced with a massive information impasse. Sometimes you don't need more data, you just need better definitions.
Right. So what does this all mean for the Harappans? Well, the paper notes a fascinating survival bias. The Harappans very likely wrote down their true spoken language, their epic poetry, their daily thoughts on perishable materials, things like leaves or cloth that simply rotted away millennia ago.
Meaning all that survived were their administrative barcodes carved in stone, leaving us with a completely skewed view of who they were.
It really leaves you with this to mull over. If our civilization collapsed tomorrow, what perishable digital records of ours would vanish into the ether, leaving future archaeologists completely misunderstanding who you were based solely on the plastic credit cards you left behind?